In this episode, we're going to show you in great detail how to build a drawer system like this for the back of your camping rig.
And it'll come in at a fraction of the cost that you would spend on a commercially built unit.
This is Wanderlust Overland. Get to there.
Let me see it.
No, get your own.
I want to see
No, get your own! Our goal in designing this system was to build it strong as hell, but not weigh a ton. Through quality materials and well thought out joints, I think we've accomplished that. Good tight joinery is key in making a case that not only won't fall apart on you, but also won't bend out of shape the first big bump you hit. Instead of using simple butt joints to put our panels together, we're using a variation of a tongue and groove joint. With joints like these, we're actually locking our panels together. And not only are these joints physically locking the panels together, we're also doubling the amount of glue surface compared to a normal butt joint. The majority of the stress on this when the heavy drawers are pulled out is going to be right here where the side meets the bottom. We're orienting our joint this way for maximum strength so it can't pull up away from the bottom. Where the sides meet the top, we flip that joint to prevent the sides from coming apart this way. Our back panel is milled on 3 edges to fit in the grooves that we cut into the sides and the top. Now we didn't put a groove in the bottom panel because we didn't want to create a weak point so close to our main mounting points. As you can see, it's pretty solid already, and it's not even glued up yet. We made all these joints by using a stacked dado head cutter and our table saw, but you don't have to have a setup like this. You can accomplish the same thing by taking multiple cuts with a standard blade, just moving the fence a little bit each time until you get your groove or your tenon just right. Since the case won't have a face frame applied to the front, we're going to screw in these big brackets at each corner to add a lot of strength. We're also going to put a couple on the bottom and the inside towards the back. We're putting a couple more in the rear next to the main mounting bolts to prevent the bottom from ever separating from the case. While it's still apart, before we put it all back together for good, we're going to first drill all of our mounting holes for our slides, these brackets, and the main mounting holes. It's going to be a lot easier to do it now than later after it's put together, trying to reach in there with the drill. And another thing we're going to do before we put it all together is we're going to put a finish on the inside because it's easier to do it now. But before we do, we have to tape off these joints that are going to see any glue. For a finish, we're using good old polyurethane. All right, finish is all dry. Let's glue it up. We're going to start with the bottom. Now, as you can see, we have tenons that are going to fit into the slots on our side panels. And on the very back of our bottom panel, we're actually extending past the side of the case about 2 inches. That's going to allow easy access to these 3 mounting points, and we have 4 more mounting points inside the case. Now onto our 2 sides. Now with these, we have a groove at the bottom where our bottom panel tenons are going to fit into. At the top, we have a tenon that the top grooves are going to fit down onto. And at the back, we have another groove that the back panel is going to fit in. for glue, we're just using a really good quality exterior wood glue. Spread out nice and even. All right, the case is done. Let's start building some drawers. For our system, we went with 3 shallow drawers instead of 2 deeper ones, primarily because we don't really like to have to dig through stuff to find the things at the bottom. And when we laid out our drawers, we first took a couple of key pieces of equipment we'll be carrying along, like our toolbox and the coffee pot. We measured them to make sure that they fit in the drawers. Now, just like the case, for the drawers, we're using 1/2-inch premium birch plywood. Now on to one of the more fun parts of this whole project. That is joining the corners of the drawers. What we're going to do is use one of my favorite joints in this particular instance, and that is a finger joint or a box joint. It's just a bunch of cutouts corresponding on the other side. They, how do they go? Like this. They slip together like this, and with all that glue surface there, they will never come apart. This plywood would shatter before this joint would ever come apart. To make them, we use a jig on our table saw. Now this we made ourselves. I think you can buy them commercially. Well, I'm sure you can buy it. You can buy anything. But it's really simple to make. If you want to go that route, we'll show you some pictures. And this is how we use it. We have everything sanded. We have a finish applied to the interior surfaces, just like we did on the case. And now it is time to glue everything up. We're going to start with the bottom drawer. This is the drawer where we're going to keep the really heavy stuff. The toolbox, recovery equipment, anything that weighs a lot. So we have to reinforce the floor a little bit. All the drawer bottoms are going to be 1/4-inch plywood. It's pretty strong in itself, but with that much weight of the tools and everything, we don't want it to sag at all. So we have a center divider with these cleats that the floor is going to ride on, plus the floor is going to go into the grooves along the sides, front and back too. Now when we put the finish on here, just like on the case, we made sure we didn't get any of that polyurethane on the glue joints at all. Okay, now we're going to put a clamp on it. We're going to use a ratchet strap to cinch everything up tight. But you don't want your strap to push on the joint itself. So we put these on to put that load off the joint onto the sides. Now we need to check for square. To do that, we're going to use T-square and take some diagonal measurements. That's 35 3/8. 35, a little over 3/8. Let's see how square it is. Boy, that looks good. Real good. Right out of the box, I get one that's square. How about that? Hopefully the other two drawers will go as easy as this one did. And now is the best time to get any excess glue out of this interior. It's a little tougher to do after it dries. Okay, now on to our middle drawer. This one's going to be fairly deep. It's going to hold pots and pans, plates, cups, utensils, all that. We're asking a lot of this drawer. It's going to have that flip up countertop and a cutting board here, the slider outer thing underneath, and before we put it together, I cut these out. This is going to allow us to put our fingers in through here to lift that tabletop up and to get the cutting board out. There is kind of like the bottom drawer. It's going to have a divider in it, not necessarily to add strength to the floor or the bottom, but to hold that hinge thing that brings that tabletop up. All right, on to the top drawer, the last one. This is just a simple drawer, fairly shallow. We'll be putting probably our stove in here, maybe some canned food, whatever. We don't have a divider in this one, just a simple drawer. Now, as you can see, we have a lot of work done on this already. We have it all sanded down nice. And we have the drawer faces on. They're going to hide the gap on the sides along with the sliders and just give it a more finished look. We just screwed these on from the back side, no glue. We want to be able to take them off easy just in case they get damaged, and it's going to make it a lot easier when we go to put the finish on this because the drawer fronts are going to be the black and the rest of the drawers are going to be the clear. We also sanded these little reliefs next to all the poles. The countertops are all sawed out of 3/4 inch solid PVC, and the big one is mounted on what I call coffee table hinges. Now, we did make one major change to this setup since we glued up the drawers. We noticed that when the countertop was down, it was really hard to pull it back up when it was recessed down into the drawers because it was hitting this back side, really bad, where it wouldn't come up. It's just the way the mechanism works, bringing it up. So what we had to do was cut down the sides a little bit so the countertop now sits on top of the sides and is actually overlapping a little bit. This works excellent. To prevent any kind of liquids or even rain from coming off the surface and making its way down into the drawer below, we actually made a channel on both sides and a drip edge underneath the front and back. This small section of counter is likely going to be a cutting board, and it just sits down in on top of these dowel rods. This is going to make a very convenient workspace for us. But wait, there's more! This pull-out is really simple. It rides on 1.5-inch aluminum channel that's screwed onto the sides of the drawers. It has a couple of catches to keep it from coming back out when you're driving. It has a stop underneath to prevent it from coming all the way out. And it has a matching drawer face, so it blends into the rest of the drawer fronts. On this, we also milled a channel at the ends and that drip edge along the sides here. We are ready to do a little final sanding and then put a finish on. We put 3 coats of polyurethane on all of the interior surfaces, doing a light sanding in between each coat. For all the exterior surfaces, we sprayed on a rattle can bed liner. We like this particular product because it has a more aggressive non-skid texture to it. The drawer slides are going on for the last time, and when we're doing it, we're putting a little drop of blue Loctite on all the nuts. Make sure they don't back off. We're screwing on the aluminum channel that pull-out rides on. The drawer faces are being screwed on. I think it's finished. Okay, let's see if it fits. We're bolting it down to a base plate that we built a few episodes ago using 1/4-inch bolts and big fender washers. Well, that's the end of this project, and just in time too, we have a trip coming up in a couple of weeks where we'll make good use of this. Now stay tuned to our channel. We have a lot more projects coming up soon.
We'd like to thank you for watching, and please consider subscribing to our channel. Don't forget to ring the bell to be notified when we upload a new video.